We've got Stefan Verstappen here, and Stefan, thanks so much for joining us as always. And you want to give us a quick Canada update, if anything news happening up there before we get started with your talk?
Well, just the usual communist shenanigans and corruption and trying to destroy Western society. That's what the Canadian government is good at doing. We, we're getting the drag queen story hours everywhere. I don't know why they're insisting on putting them like. I can understand. They put it in the big city where most of the gays live, anyways, and most of the liberals live, but I mean, they're out in these little tiny towns. Like, there's a small town, about 5 miles from where I am, called Tilsonburg, and they had, a big controversy because they wanted to raise the gay pride flag on the main flagpole, and the local residents, which consist of mostly white Christians, Amish, Mennonites, um, they said no. We really don't want you to fly
Right.
the gay flag on the on the county building. On City Hall there. I mean, that's only for the Canadian flag, and sometimes for a branch flag like the British flag or something. Anyways, they started saying that this was a human rights infraction. Why it's a human right to fly a rainbow flag is beyond me,
That's it.
and that Tilsonburg is creating an environment that's dangerous to the LGBTQ. There's no LGBTQ in, in Tilsonburg. It's 500 farmers. It's we don't have any gay bars there. There's nothing, anyways. But so, and of course they have to send out the drag queens to teach, to read stories at the local library. And, members of my community went there. Now, we didn't do an open protest because that'll get you arrested. But what they did do is we
Hmm?
got kind of the gruffest, meanest looking guys to sit on the front row and just give them the stink eye the whole time they're up there.
Hey, yeah, just show up and like don't shower for like 2 weeks, and everyone will just disperse.
Exactly, that's what it was. It was like, we're here to take up the space, and you can tell people aren't happy about it. So and it made them all feel very uncomfortable. But again, why are they doing this to the kids? I grew up in Toronto in the entertainment community. I worked at a recording studio. I played in bands. I dated actresses. So I'm really familiar with the whole artsy fartsy crowd, the theatrical crowd, and there was tons of gays in that crowd. And nobody was persecuting them. Nobody was after
Right,
them.
right.
Nobody was hunting them down in the streets. I don't know where this all came from. Um, so, and
Hmm.
nobody cared. Nobody really cared whether you were gay or not. This is back in the '60s and '70s. All right. Um, but now we got to have them in the kids' schools. Okay,
Yeah.
that's gone too far. I'm sorry, it's really gone too
It's
far.
got to be normalized. Yeah. I
Yep.
just did a little briefing on the Substack page, getting through all the latest, what I call days a lot news, citing the Bible. I'll just throw you a few of the headlines out here to you, Stefan. Dance club called Heaven is now offering a genreless and genderless party for next generation club kids. So, again, this is for kids, speaking about kids. You also have thousands of LGBTers flocking to Florida for what they're calling Gay Day because they're in defiance of DeSantis down there. So you got Gay Day going on down there. You got one particular transgender who recently came out on social media and indicated that as a biological male that he's able to induce lactation and he plans on breastfeeding a child here soon. One of my favorites, though, from the day, of course, PetSmart, that big company. You've got a couple cats, so maybe you guys have PetSmart up there in Canada. I'm not sure.
Yep.
But
Yep.
PetSmart unveils their LGBTQ themed products for gender fluid fish and gay pets. And I'm looking at a dog right now. He's got little rainbow butterfly wings on. So he's a little sodomite Sammy Schnitzel. But maybe my favorite. How about this one? British Glamour magazine features pregnant transgender who's the author of a book, The Miracle of Male Birth. This is my daddy's belly. It's called. How about that?
Yeah,
So
that
this is
would
welcome
be a
to
miracle.
2023. Welcome to 2023. Uh, Man, I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. This is half the reason why I just stay inside. Man, I don't even go out anymore. Not that I really don't. I can't go out there. It's like Star Wars, man. It's like that scene out of Star Wars. You're walking into the bar and it's just freaks everywhere.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, the
thank
bar
you.
scene. Except it's way worse than Star Wars.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
man.
no, I just,
Good.
I just because I live in a small town, it's not so bad. I bicycle down Main Street. I go to the river. I sit by the river, have a beer, watch the butterflies. That's what I like to do. But no, I wouldn't go into the big city at all. But listen, let's deconstruct this. What all this is about is what they said in 1984, right? 2 plus 2 equals 5. And they want you to believe that a guy that wears a dress is a woman because it's a mental attack. Okay, I don't even know if they if they really care about promoting this agenda. What they care about is making us insane, and destroying our sense of reality. So when they say a guy in a dress can be pregnant and have a period and uh, it of course it's not real. It's the most absurd statement you could possibly make. It's as absurd as saying 2 plus 2 equals 5. But that's the point. It's so absurd. And then they want you to go along with it. And when you go along with it, that means you're being mind controlled. That's all this is about. It's just another mind control op run by the
Try it out,
communists,
man.
run by the fascists to destroy your ability to think. That's what it is. And listen, it's having a terrible effect on children. Listen, I can, you know, wade through all this sewage, and I'm pretty much unaffected because I know up from down and left from right. I'm a mature man with critical thinking skills, so it doesn't
Right.
really bother. It annoys me. It does annoy me, but it doesn't. I'm not having a mental crisis over this stuff. But it's the young kids. That's who is really being affected by this. And like I said, we've already had a half a dozen suicides of teenagers in this small town. It's a little town. Why are all these kids killing themselves? Well, turns out half of
Stefan, are you
them,
there? I lost you. Hold on,
half
give it
of
one
them.
second. It looks like it's trying to recalibrate here
Oh,
in terms of our connection. Oh, now you're back. Yeah, I lost you for about 20 seconds. Hold on, give it 1 second here. All right, there you go. Now you're back. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Oh, there you go. Now you're
So let
back.
me
Yeah, I
try and
lost you for about 20 seconds.
recap then. So what this is, it's an attack on people's mentalities, attack on their ability to think, and it affects young people the most. And even in this small town, it's a little farming community. We had now a half a dozen teenagers commit suicide, and
Ooh.
and I've spoken to the mothers of some of these children, and just before they committed suicide, guess what? They thought they were transgender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like it's just. But listen,
Y-
it's
mhm.
another thing too, Eric. Not only are they trying to destroy our ability to think and reason with all this nonsense, where did this all come from? All of a sudden, last year, all gay this,
Mhm.
gay that, tranny
Wrong
this,
push.
because it's part of the program. They've worked this out in advance. They've been planning this for years, and now they've rolled it out, and now everybody has to go along with this in order to and if you do go along with it, if you don't mind it, that means there's something wrong with you. Uh,
Right. Yeah. hmm
yeah,
Satanic inversion. Yeah. I mean, they're trying to
exactly.
normalize it and they're trying to paint us. I mean, there was an article that came out like 3 weeks ago that indicated anyone that was pro life was basically a terrorist,
Mm.
according to, I don't know if it was the FBI, one of those groups, one of the usual suspects here in the United States. So, yeah, I mean, just basic, like basic conservatism, you're now labeled a terrorist now. So,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, that's where we're at, buddy. But yeah, I know you wanted to talk about the three grand strategies to surviving the collapse. I'll just give you my updated opinion. I could be wrong on this,
Go ahead.
Stefan, but leading up to this whole talk of the global, debt deal here in America, I was like, okay, let's pay attention to this because if they do collapse the stock market, then the economy would collapse. They're talking about like 50% plunge in the stock market, 10 million jobs lost. It would affect the economy here and abroad, of course. So I was like, okay, this is like my last major sign before the Antichrist shows up. But of course, they made a deal at the last second, kind of thing. So personally, I'm actually not expecting the economic stock market crash I've been talking about for like 10 years now, getting kind of tired of talking about it, until the earliest next year, if not 2025. But again, I could be wrong. There's some wild cards certainly in play still, whether it be war, a new pandemic, or whatnot. So I think we got a little bit more time, I guess is what I'm saying. And I really do need it. I ran into a problem yesterday. I'll probably mention here on the program that I'm gonna need some time on figuring out with my process here. But jump right into it. Where do you want to start?
So before, we've been all our shows have been on prepping and survivalism. So I just want to step back a little bit and go over the three grand strategies of surviving. So one thing is for certain: Western civilization is coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to collapse one way or the other, whether it's this month or next year or in 2 years. But the collapse is inevitable. So how are we going to survive this? I mean, everything is going to be gone, right? Grocery stores will be gone, supply chains will be gone, gas and oil will be gone, electricity will be gone, internet. Because once it collapses, it'll all start to collapse, right? It's like a house of cards, and it really is. Look at the infrastructure there in the U.S. and all those train derailments. Yeah, look at the railway tracks. They're 150 years old and they're all warped. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but this is what I wrote in my book on historical cycles, or my article on historical cycles, and that is, when things collapse, a lot of it is because the government fails to maintain infrastructure. And so, just imagine a couple of key bridges in your county collapsing. How are you going to drive across the river? You're not. Um, and it's all due to lack of maintenance. And the reason is that the society and the government become so corrupt that there's no money for maintenance. If they allocate some money for maintenance, it'll be siphoned off by corrupt bureaucrats. So actually nothing will ever be accomplished. So things will start to collapse all at once, and we have to survive. So there's three main strategies. Number one, preparedness, self-sufficiency. Now, we've talked about this for the last 2 years now, Eric, and we've gone over all the minutia, the food, the water, the medicine that you're going to need to stockpile, firearms, weapons. But let's not forget that we need to prepare. If you're not preparing every day you got to do something to,
Yep.
get ready for this collapse. And you need to have at least 1 year's worth of food, because we are under a communist system right now. Let's not pretend that it's a democracy anymore, or that, God forbid, it's a republic. That went down the toilet years ago. So we're under a communist system, and when you study communism as it was instituted in every country in the world, first thing they did was starve the people. Famines, shortages, people starve to death. Well, listen, the communists want to kill a lot of people. They always do. The number of deaths in the last century due to communism is well over 200 million, and probably much higher than that. Um, so they're going to starve us, guaranteed. So that's why one of the most important things about being prepped is to have a year's supply worth of food. But I get nervous, Eric, because when I was reading this blogger who lived in Venezuela during the collapse there, and again, communism, and he said there were preppers in Venezuela that knew this was coming, and they had stockpiled a year's worth of food. He said some even had stockpiled like 2 years worth of food.
Huh?
But the famine in Venezuela went on for 5 years, and it's
Mm-hmm.
still going on. He said, so even those guys that had 2 years worth of food, year three, now they're eating their pets too. Those people ate all their cats and dogs. They broke into the zoo. They killed
Mm.
giraffes
Yeah.
and llamas and ate them. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
bad it gets under the communists. And I can't believe that people are still really passive about it and aren't up in arms about it. Listen, they're trying to kill
No.
you, and they want you to eat your pets first, and then you starve to death. So most important is prepping. That's your first overall strategy. It's your number one priority to always be prepping, get extra food in, and figure out ways of extending your food supply through gardens. Um,
Yep.
Thursday, I was at our community. We have two community gardens. Each garden is about 60 feet by 80 feet, big gardens. And so I was hoeing the soil, aerating it, and we were planting, you know, the crops for this season. And the other thing is, everybody in the community also has their own backyard garden. So good to store a year, maybe 2 years supply of food, but you got to get into the gardening thing, get some chickens, get some rabbits. But I don't want to kill the rabbits. I don't want to eat the rabbits personally. So, but chickens, you always got a roast chicken and you got eggs. That's protein. It's cheap. So this, you know, by getting this ready now, right? By getting some garden supplies, stockpiling some seeds, even if you don't want to, grow a garden this year. In 2 years, you're going to want to grow a garden because you'll be starving. So get that in addition to the 2 years worth of food, because the prepping is a stopgap method. It's only meant to keep you safe for so long, but it can't keep you safe forever. So what we're trying to do is we're hoping that when the crash comes, that it won't last more than a year. Let's hope that it doesn't. But I got to be honest with you. When I look at history, look at the poor Russians. They got that communism shoved down their throat in 1920. They didn't get rid of it
Yeah.
until the 80s. That's 60 years. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I've been telling my folks. Well, I mean, it's in the Bible. Joseph stored grain for the 7 year famine. 7 years is how long the Antichrist is going to reign in the Bible, and again, it could be right around the corner. Again, I'm not expecting him this year; probably next year now. So, I've been telling my folks at least 7 years. I mean, you got to have not only just storing the stuff, you got to have your processes in place. Like the issue that I came across yesterday, which I was up all night trying to like refigure everything out. I have a solar system that was put in place, and the whole plan was to charge my eco flows up using the power inverter coming from the solar systems I've set up all over, and it doesn't work. I kid you not. I tested it out yesterday for the first time, and when I talked to EcoFlow yesterday, they said due to some like new technology they had in whatever that whatever I think it was called like a Thunderbolt or Jupiter power inverter, like it wasn't compatible with it. So now I got to go and do like the whole EcoFlow thing. So I got like what I mean. Like I have to completely like redo what I originally thought I could do. And the point that I wanted to bring into this podcast is you better be ready to problem solve on a daily basis. Like you better have the wheels spinning upstairs because we're all going to be dealing with different stuff on a daily basis. You need to have a backup plan to the backup plan, really.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I always say
mhm.
Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, Plan D. No, and I've been experiencing the same thing, Eric. It seems that the technology with a number of things. The last 2 months, it's just been insane. The number of things that don't work.
Right, exactly.
Right? So now you got to problem solve. Okay, so you read up on it, you go to the manuals, you go online, you read the blogs about it, you try to get some YouTube videos how to fix this problem, and then it's always like this, Eric. Before you can fix this problem, oh, we have another problem you got to fix
Yep.
first. All right. So, okay, let me go fix that problem. But wait a minute. Before you can fix that problem, there's another problem that you got to fix first. I mean, it just seems to go like that. And I'm trying to accomplish something that, with my website and I'm putting together another online teaching course. Everything I do doesn't work. And
Right.
I can't tell. I've been on tech support with my web hoster and all these other companies dozens of times. I'm on tech support dozens of times. Okay, we'll try this, try that. And it should be something simple. 10 years ago, I could have done it. Would have been flawless. Now everything
Hmm.
is just, but it's part of the kind of like the built-in obsolescence and also the massive dumbing down. You've got a bunch of stupid people running things. They can't help it. They went to school, so they're idiots. And no, that's true.
Yeah.
If you're an employer and you want to hire somebody that was homeschooled. Because if you get them out of college or university, forget it. They don't know anything. And so that spills over into everything we do. Things don't work because there's too many stupid people working on it that don't know what they're doing. So
Hmm.
yeah, also a good point about that is you've got to test your systems
Yep.
repeatedly, right? Don't say,
Hmm.
okay, I bought everything, it's ready to go, and it should work once I set it up. No, set it up and test it because it probably won't work.
Exactly. Yeah. Got to prepare for the worst. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and also problem solving. That's going to be a key resource or a key talent to
Hmm.
have when it hits the fan, because everything starts to fall apart. The car will break down, and your computer will break down, and your toaster will break down, and you better learn how to fix all those different things because
Yep. Hmm.
you're not going to have the money to go out and buy another one from Walmart for $10, because Walmart's not going to be here. So you better,
Yeah. Walmart's, you're gonna have to walk through with a chip in your head. Yeah.
yeah,
No. I mean, one of the seven principles to being an eagle. And again, we use eagle symbology here at TriCat Night. Is the eagle can adapt very quickly. Nest gets knocked down. It's got a backup plan. It knows exactly what it's doing very quickly. That's what you're gonna have to do on a daily basis. I've been telling my folks for years, like you're gonna every day is gonna be different. The whole like wake up structured 9 to 5 days over here soon. Like
yeah,
one I mean, it's even before the collapse. I'm going to argue, but once the collapse hits, certainly you can forget about it. Every day is going to be different, and you better be on top of your game, problem solving wise.
yeah,
You're going to be, you ain't going to make it long.
yeah. So that's the prepping portion. So grand strategy, okay, three strategies. The first one is preparedness. It's your primary strategy. You need to do whatever you can to get as much supplies and seeds and equipment and tools and store it, or learn how to use it, because but again, that's only a stopgap. It would be different if we had a ICBM silo in Oklahoma that's stocked with 20 years worth of food and generators and things. Okay, fine, but how many of us are in a position to do that? No one. So it's just us guys, our families, and our small circle
Yeah,
of
it comes to
friends.
community. Community. Everyone's got to work together. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so the second grand strategy for survival is, and we've talked about this before, Eric, and I know you're a big proponent of this idea, and that is you have to become warriors. You got to
Hmm.
get tough. Nobody's getting through this easily, okay? It's not going to be
Hmm.
easy for anybody. Everybody is going to have to struggle and fight. And let me say, none of this is going to end without bloodshed.
Right. Hmm.
There's going to be blood. Um, Look, it sounds negative, but I've studied history. To get rid of these communists always requires fighting and bloodshed. Always, always. It's the old saying, you can vote your way into communism, but you have to fight your way out.
Right.
So there will be blood. And we're seeing it now already. Look at the crime rate. We've talked about the crime rate before, but it's getting worse and worse.
Yep.
They're
Crazy.
driving
Yep.
whole cities into bankruptcy now.
Mhm.
San Francisco, Seattle,
And the
Portland.
longer you wait to prep, Stefan, like if you're like, oh, I'll wait 3 months, down the road to prep. Like as the longer we go along, even in like the more suburbia areas, as things become more volatile and people are starting to flip their lids, it's not going to be safe to go out to shop. You can go out and
No.
buy $300 worth of groceries. You might not be coming home with them.
Yeah, I mentioned this in my my short story, How It Will Go Down 2030. And, I predicted in that short story that people going to the grocery store will be followed home and robbed.
Yep.
Well, that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's already
So,
happening. Yep.
if you're going to make a run to the grocery store, even before it all collapses, right now, for example, you better go with two people and you better be armed.
Yep.
The wife can't go to the grocery store by herself because as
I
she's
wouldn't
loading
allow
the
it. Yeah.
stuff into a car, another car will pull up, four guys will jump out, steal everything she's got, and drive off. That's
Exactly.
happening now. So, and we haven't even got to, really serious levels of shortages yet.
Right. Not yet. Yep.
No, there's still plenty of food on the shelves here, anyways. So, yeah, that's
Hmm.
why you have to be a warrior. You have to be tough. You got to get a firearm, or if you can't get a firearm, like here in Canada, you've got to carry a weapon with you, and then always go. We have a saying in search and rescue: two by two. So four people. It takes four people to search a collapsed house. Two people go inside. Two people stand outside. So if something happens while they're inside, the building collapses, maybe one guy can help the other, but if they're both trapped, then the two people outside can come in and rescue all of them. It's
Hmm.
going to be the same kind of concept if you're going to go into town, if you've got to go to the bank and get some cash, if you're going to go shopping, you need two people with you. You need two people, and depending on how things are going, you might need four people. Go in two cars. Two cars. Two people go in, do the grocery shopping. The other two people wait in the car next to the other car out in the parking lot. And that way you can tell if there's people lurking around trying to sneak up on the car. You've got two people in there already. Because this is what it's going to be like. It's like, Mad Max is coming, and it's
Hmm.
already halfway here. And that's
Hmm.
why you need to be a warrior. You need to be tough. Um, train in a martial art. And I don't care what the martial arts, karate, judo, fencing, boxing, but some kind of martial art, something that requires you to engage in combat.
Yeah. Defense. Yeah. Self defense. Certainly a proponent of that. Physical fitness. I mean, make sure you're as healthy, as can be. Get out there, exercise, get in the sun, eat
Yep.
right, sleep more, fasting. I've been doing intermittent fasting now the last like 2 or 3 months. My energy levels are through the roof. Big proponent of that.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
Me too.
hmm
Yeah, and then time spent outdoors, in nature. Go on walks, go on hikes, go in for a canoe ride. Go for like what I do is I go for bicycle rides. It's one of the best exercises. It's easy on the knees, and so you got to get yourself in shape. You got to be strong, folks, because what's going to happen is going to be really ugly, and a lot is going to depend on your ability to mentally and physically deal with it. So part of the
hmm
warrior attitude too is the mental aspect of it. Don't be frightened. Don't get worried. Don't get anxious. Don't get black pilled. Don't give up on the world. You got to be focused. Okay, we're going to get through this, and if anybody gets in my way, I'm going to destroy them. That's all you need to think about.
Yeah.
That's your attitude. I'm going to protect myself and my family and my friends and my community. And whatever happens, I will push through it. And anybody gets in my way, they're going down. That's the warrior attitude. You're not going to say sorry. You're not going to back up. You're not going to offer reparations. Um, you're just going to say, no, enough of this shit. You're going
Yeah.
down. You either get out of here or I'm going to take you
Yep.
down. And
That's it.
the other thing is, we may have to kill. I did a short video on this, the power to kill. And that is the hardest thing for us to do. We are willing, most of us are willing to sacrifice our lives to protect our children. Okay?
Uh-huh.
We'll dive in front of the car and push the kid out of the way and we'll get killed. That's fine. That's all great. But how many people are willing to kill for their children? So you see some guy, he's trying to kidnap your child, and look what's going on down there. Jesus, well, all over the world now, Eric. The amount of children that are disappearing is obscene. The child
Yeah. Did you see
trafficking.
that? Did you see that headline from this morning? Cleveland over the last few days alone, like 30 kids off of this one particular park missing. in like just
Yeah,
like a couple days or something.
yeah. You see, if that was me and that was my kid, I would kill that guy. I would kill anybody that came after my kids. Tried to, they run up and they grab him and they run away. And I got a hold of that guy. No, he wouldn't breathe anymore. And I'm prepared to do that, even though I'm really, a very gentle person in life. I treat everybody very kindly, and animals and nature. But listen, we can't put up with this evil crap too much longer. Sometime we're going to have to take these people down. So I know, this is the call to violence. Everybody, oh no, don't call it violence. We can't. Look at history. Everything is violence. Look at the last 2,000 years of our planet. All people did was slaughter each other by the millions. And then we're running around, oh, well, we can't be violent. We can't. No, if it's to protect yourself, to protect your
Yeah.
children, then
Yep.
if you got to kill them, then you have to kill them, okay? If it's some pedophile, if it's some gangster trying to rape and rob your wife, look, I'm sorry. And especially when things hit the fan, when there is no police, and right now, look, the police are useless anyways. Even if they, even if they come out, you're not going to catch the guy. Even if some miracle they were to catch the perpetrator, he's not going to get charged. He's going to be out on bail in 12 hours.
Well,
So imagine what it'll be like when shit hits the fan, and there are no police. Well, there probably will be police, but there'll be gangs looting and robbing everybody else, because that's typically what happens with police forces during the collapse. They turn into gangs and they prey on the rest of us, the rest of the people.
mhm.
So police absolutely useless. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to take this into your own hands. So you got to be a warrior for that. Okay, final thing, because we're almost running out of time. I
Yeah.
can see that. Final thing is community. Again, getting prepped, getting a year's supply of food, 2 years, or what you're saying, Eric, makes even more sense. 7 years worth of food. Okay, but even still, that's a stopgap method. You need to be a warrior so that you can protect your preps. I mean, it's no sense, stockpiling 2 years worth of food if in the first week you get robbed and looted. Um, so you have to be a warrior to protect your goods and your preps and your family. But for long-term survival, you need a community of people that can work together. You grow the gardens together. You trade together. I know here within our community, one guy's got goats, the other guy's got chickens, the other guy's got pigs, and we can barter between everybody so that we'll always have a supply of food. And then also these communities. Part of why I'm doing this, and part of the motivation for forming these communities, is that these communities will rebuild society after it's all collapsed. That's where it's
Mhm.
going to come from again. The big institutions will be gone, the big grocery stores will be gone, the big government will be gone, the big police. Once that's all gone, then what? Everybody's just going to be running around in the streets with a knife killing each other? No, no, it's the communities that will come together. They will create a new town council. They'll take over the local hydro plant and get the electricity started again. They'll, get the oil pumping again. Listen, there's oil everywhere. We could refine our own gasoline, and small operations. There's a lot of engineers and guys that know how to work with tools. We could do this all ourselves, like, make our own kerosene. You can run everything on kerosene, your diesel engines and things like that, your generators, and you can make kerosene by collecting a lot of plastic and melting it down in a still. It's just a still, and at a certain temperature, all that plastic breaks down into kerosene. So we can do all these things ourselves, and we will have to, but it's requires a community. I can't do all this by myself, no matter how talented I am, no matter how much
Mhm.
knowledge I have. I can't do this by myself.
Yep.
So it's the communities that's the long-term solution. So again, the three big strategies for surviving the collapse is your own personal preparedness, Make sure you don't need anybody for a year. You got all your meds, you got all your food, you got first aid kits, you got enough ammunition to go hunting. Um, make sure you got all that. But that's good for a year, 2 years. It's not a long-term solution. Second thing, get tough, get mean, get ripped, get talented, get mentally tough and physically strong, because this is going to be a test on your mental and physical and, may I say, spiritual side too. You need to, because I know you guys are all Christians, and now is the time when you really need to, you know,
Yeah. The
rely.
great test, I put it. Yeah, Jesus said in Scripture. I mean, in terms of what the 7 year reign of the Antichrist, he called it, the tribulation period. He called it the Great Tribulation. And he said if he didn't shorten the hour or the time frame of it, like basically that 3.5 period, he said not one person would survive, not one flesh would survive. So yeah, talk about, I can just call it the Great Test in my book. Everyone's going to be tested on every level.
Yeah.
So and we're getting like minor doses of it, kind of thing, like a little baby being fed Gerber. Like we're getting little trials and tribulations or all that, but like it hasn't even started yet. Like
Hasn't even
nothing's really started yet.
Yep. Yep. So get
But
close
yes,
to God. Reestablish your relationship with Jesus, and then finally, the long-term solution is to build communities, parallel societies that will look after each other, support each other in the long term, and also to rebuild society back once we're rid of all these satanic drag queens and
right.
politicians.
Once it's all over, yep.
Once it's
Which it
all over.
will. It's happened 4 times past, so it'll happen again.
Yep,
So, like you said,
exactly.
we got to stay even keel. I know even yesterday I kind of overreacted, even with family, so I want to kind of talk to them about it. I was a little bit of a poor model yesterday, and after praying about it last night and putting together, just reconfiguring everything, right? We got the new plan. We're ready to roll, and
Yep.
that's how it has to be. So, what can we help you promote real quick before I let you go, Stefan? Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. So it's the usual thing. If you're preparing, knowledge is power. So get the knowledge you need to survive all these things. I mean, if you want to learn how to build a still to manufacture your own kerosene out of waste plastic, get my survival library. There's books in there on how to do that. There's books in there on how to build mini water hydroelectric plants. So if you got any moving water on your property, you can build your own hydroelectric plant in there. And then with an inverter, you can run your whole house. You can recharge your batteries. There's books on how to do all that in my survival library, in addition to everything else you need to know about gardening and animal husbandry. But most important is there's a lot of books on how to improvise your own windmills, how to improvise hydroelectric plants, mini ones. There's like a half a dozen different ways you can generate your own electricity using water. How to make your own batteries. I mean, it's all in there, and these are some of the some of the skills and knowledge you will need to rebuild society. So it's called the Survival Library. It's only $49.95. Over 320 PDF books that you download, and you save to a flash drive, and then no matter what comes up in the future, I need to learn how to fix a uh, fix a two-stroke engine. Well, there's a book in there, how to fix a two-stroke engine. Or I need to know a way of cooling my house in the summertime. There are techniques in there on how to cool your house in the summertime without air conditioning. It's called a swamp cooler. Anyways, at my website, chinastrategies.com, and download those books, save them on a flash drive. They will save your life. I guarantee you that information will be vital in the future.
Yeah. Good stuff as always. Another great show with us, Stefan. Folks, we got to get ready for Dr. Paul Cottrell coming up next. Until next time, stay safe and God bless.